Good morning and good afternoon, anyone from Europe dialing in. This is Andy Zaski, VP of Sales Marketing at Tolomatic, and I'm going to pause for just a minute, or I'm going to kind of banter and vamp for a little bit as we get going. It's top of the hour. This is another edition of ToloTalks and another application session. So we had quite a bit of positive feedback about our application week last week, and so we wanted to dig a little deeper and find a few more applications. Feel like construction and timber applications are industries that are weathering our current pandemic situation quite well and probably bode well as we come out of this pandemic situation, or at least learn to live with it. So we want to take you through a number of opportunities here. And as we pulled this together, we actually found more and more as we kept going. So this is kind of expanded from where I initially thought it would be, but we've got a lot of nice stuff for you. We're going to try and get through. There's about 8 construction ones and about 10 timber applications. We'll take 3 to 4 minutes on average for each one. So we'll probably be in the 40-minute mark. We hope you can join us for as much of that as possible, and understand if you have to duck out earlier, but we're going to try and keep it under 45 minutes as we move forward here. So try and stay with the short and sweet sort of concept without glossing over the details too much and making sure you have a full picture. We will have some time at the end for some questions. We won't take questions in the middle here in an effort just to keep the pace going. I also encourage you to reach out to us with any questions or ideas or opportunities afterwards. Please engage your regional sales managers and application engineers with that as we go forward. With that, we're 2 minutes in, so I'm going to get going here. So our first focus is on building and construction products and processes, automation that would surround that. As with the other application sessions that we did, we've got a multiple number of presenters. So I'm going to kind of pass the microphone around the room as we go through these. So with that, our first application here, Keith Hogan, you've got 2 applications to talk to us about around construction wins.
Good morning, everyone. This application is in the construction industry. Doesn't have to be in the construction industry because it's kind of a duplicatable win. What the application is that construction materials come in all shapes and sizes. And the one that I'm talking about there is on the far right. It happens to be rolls of tar paper. Now, you can imagine trying to roll up anything to try to keep the edges straight so that you have a nice roll at the end. Can be very difficult, especially depending upon the type of material that you're rolling, etc. And so this application came to us. It was an end user, but the end user's a little bit unique. They have a complete engineering department inside their facility that actually does new machines for all of their plants around the world. So with the research and development people, they were trying to find a new supplier, if you will, for monitoring and adjusting, making slight adjustments to the edge of the winding material to make sure that we had a very nice roll at the end. They weren't getting any support from their local supplier at the moment. We were asked to retrofit a competitor's actuator, and in order to do that, we had to come up with a special mount for them, simply putting a couple extra holes in place. And then, of course, the price is last but not least, and we did a good job working with the customer and finding the right solution for the right price. Next slide, please, Andy. So what we ended up with was an RSA 32. And the client was a new client for the distributor. They, through teamwork with the client and customer in Tolomatic, we all got together, did the sizings, create the right solution. And the reason they came our way more than anything was simply because of the technical support by the distributor. I can't emphasize that enough. The distributor went to work, was engaged, and the customer was engaged. The value proposition brought to the table was far exceeded our competition. So great teamwork, great support through the distributor. The RSA 32, we sold 25 actuators right out of the gate, which was somewhere around 50,000 or better dollars. And then more machines are expected to be coming in the end of 2020. Great job, great win. Okay, so next one. This one's in wood processing, completely automated building construction. And that's what I mean, completely automated. The customer actually had a dream that he wanted to be able to take a semi-trailer with this machine loaded on the back, just simply pull into the area for construction and then remove the walls, load the machine, turn it on, and out pops a fully made wall, etc. So it was quite interesting. It's kind of one of those applications that, you know, we all would like to have because it's why we're in business. So the pain point was there were a lot of different movements, a lot of things that had to happen through the process. And then everything had to be automated and controlled for timing, etc. The challenge was the customer had already been familiar with XLR, had already started down that road, but hadn't gotten any product yet, had little experience with Tolomatic when the distributor stepped into the fray. The reason, one of the main reasons that we got this was because of the broad offering of Tolomatic and the products that we had to offer. It wasn't that the customer didn't have to go, it was that the customer didn't have to go to, let's say, supplier A for this product and supplier B for this product. He was able to get the MX version of our products as well as our RSA, GSA version of our products all at one distributor, which was very interesting to him. So application win, the customer ended up with the GSA 32, an MXP 50, and an MXP 63 to do various actuations. The MXE 50 would raise the joists into place. The GSA 32 would push the plywood into place, and then as it held that into place, down from the top came automated screw guns, would screw the plywood into the joist, and then the MXEs would then take that full assembly, index it forward, whether it be 16 or 24 inches, and then they'd start the whole process over again. The joist would index into place. The GSAs would then clamp again, and then the screws would come in. Now, the interesting thing about this was that the machine was set up so that they attached the wire to the initial part. And then as this started indexing the plywood through the system, it also pulled the wiring through the system so that when you were all done, you had a completely fully made wall with integral wiring. So you'd have to go in and then now re-drill holes and try to fish wire through, etc. And then they would take that completed wall and then they'd install it on the floor itself. So it was a really fun project to work on, $35,000 initial order, and we used various Tolomatic products through the process, and it was just a really good, fun win for everybody.
All right, thanks, Keith. We'll keep moving along. And Bob Chunko.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us online. This application is one that highlights the benefit of bringing your high volume prospects back to Tolomatic to work with our engineering team. I know we'll get back to normal eventually, but this is one that created a brand new series of actuator for Tolomatic. The the application is window and frame machining, the aluminum frames for high-rise commercial buildings. It's a repeat part number OEM, and their pain point was actuators that they were able to purchase from known competition were having severe deflection problems in 3 axes. So we brought the customer back to Tolomatic. They met with our engineering team. Our engineering group worked directly with their engineering group to create a product that didn't exist. It was a complete white sheet of paper application. And that's one of the benefits of Tolomatic, being as nimble as we are. If the application presents itself and it is, truly an application where we're benefiting the customer, benefiting, your distribution organization, this is a great way to endear yourself to the customer, bringing them back to Tolomatic. So we created a product that had superior sealing capability because this is a machine tool application. We started with one of our standard products, but realized that we needed to do something that was completely, out of the box. So our engineering team designed extrusions. We created tooling for the extrusions, engaged with the customer, and created something exactly what they needed. The sales value here, a little bit higher than the number down below, but it's been ongoing business now for several years, and we've really helped the customer through our partnership with our distributor partner to grow their business. So it truly was a collaboration between the 3 companies. So the distributor, the end customer, and Tolomatic came together as a group, and we really provided something that helped the customer grow their business and become a major player in this field. So business is ongoing. We continue to develop this series of actuator called TRS. We're hoping that this will be a released product soon. We have 4 sizes on this one. It's a 100 millimeter wide body, 130, 165, and 225 millimeter twin rail design that is just an amazing product. So stay tuned for that one. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Good win. Great win. Great customer. Great collaboration with our distributor there. We'll move on. And Rich Braga. This goes back a little ways, but shutter manufacturing.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Good morning. This is a shutter manufacturer that was moving a drill head, and obviously you're drilling holes to a pattern so you can put shutters together so they look nice and pretty on the window here. A lot of the woodworking companies that are making products like this typically used air cylinders to move and index their fixtures back and forth. So this end user had really had to develop an automated manufacturing process to speed up the whole production of these shutters. So they needed to automate the drill head and accurately position it and space out the holes as they were drilling. The other requirement was obviously there's a lot of contamination in this operation, so they had a desire to keep the actuator as clean as possible. Next slide, please. So we settled on the B3W. It was a very long stroke, was 204 inches, and it's indexing this drill head to these different positionings as it's drilling. The B3W has a good sealing capability where you have a big wide band that covers the belt so nothing's exposed, which is very good. And even on a lot of these applications where dust is prevalent, you can get an actuator from Tolomatic that has a purge port, and you can pressurize the inside of the extrusion like 3-4 psi. So this reduced their whole time and drill setup and improved all their accuracies and gave them real consistent win over for an air cylinder.
Great. And not only did you help make shutters, you helped make furniture as well, right?
Yeah, so a lot of these companies that are making furniture, that are making kitchen cabinets, anything that a lot of it's this press board manufacturing, things you could get at IKEA. Uh, they often move all their jigs in and out with disposable air cylinders, and lots of times they require more than two positions. So this was a very large manufacturer of kitchen cabinets in America, that they have one centralized engineering firm that looks at their processes in-house and how can they speed up and improve their assembly time making these cabinets. So they were looking for a lower cost solution because they're switching from an air cylinder to an electric cylinder for the first time. And they required some accuracy as they were moving the jig in and out and placing different size cabinets in. Next slide, please. So yeah, there we go. So then we ended up with our contact at our channel, had a very good relationship with them. We had a solution for our ERD 15, where the motor was supplied by a distributor. So picture a jig where air cylinders are on it. So you had 8 actuators per machine. And as they spread this wind throughout their manufacturing facilities, it turned out to be, a very nice win indeed. And the benefit was we flipped an air cylinder application to electric. We came up with a very viable solution based on cost and hit their repeatability requirements.
Thanks, Andy. Hi, everyone. This is an OEM of ours that's been around for a long time. It's a window manufacturer, and the application is for they use our BCS actuators, and they have used our Unix in the past for fixturing, material handling, and we run ultrasonic. They run ultrasonic welding on the frame assemblies. Again, this customer's been around for 20 plus years based on our relationship with the distributor. There's a real good relationship there with that account manager. Originally the pain point was durability issues, high cycle rates, because they run multiple shifts at the facility, deliveries, and then originally this was a pneumatic solution, and we have started switching over all their stuff to electric recently. The next slide, Andy. So in this guy, you can see we use our BCS rod actuator, and then this is guiding the assembly. The window would be in that frame, and it's carrying and moving, it would be a window, a door frame, a door slider frame, and that is an ultrasonic welder that's sitting on top of there. And there's one on either side, so each side would get welded and then index accordingly. So there are different, different stroke lengths that this thing comes down based on the window parameters. Again, our relationship with the distributor and the customer, a long time. Again, strong performance. And again, the sales value for this whole thing was just the endurance technology. Again, these guys are really, it's a multi-shift, as I mentioned before. Sizing selection, support from us is they're always in contact with myself and the distributor. Fast deliveries, and typically, just like what Richie said, a nice pneumatic to electric conversion win over the years based on all their applications. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Dave Schmidt, talking about flooring here.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon for those around the world. But this was an application that was fairly unique, and with an Amish woodworker in Kentucky. And what happened was that they were using, as we've gotten more detailed in our homes and features and so forth, they were hand grooving and putting the texturizing into these wood planks that are going into the wood floor material, and was very time consuming and not very ergonomically sound for the workers. So they were looking to automate this process without losing the manual process with the look and feel and depth of the texture. And so we were also needed to be very flexible to accommodate different board widths and very limited changeover time and hardness of the material or the wood that they were using. So what this does is it moves a grooving blade or scraper across the surface of the wood as the mill moves it underneath it. And there's a Z-axis unit that controls the height of the grooving blade as well. And it needed to be pretty economical from a cost standpoint. So the top photo here shows the pneumatic solution that they had tried. And so you can see the pneumatic rod style cylinders, the 4 of them, and the Z-axis. Again, that's raising and lowering the grooves as the plank is running laterally to that. And then the H-block grooves there move the shaver left to right and so forth. So we sold them some ERDs to do both axes of motion here, the Z and the X. And it was a cost-effective solution for them, and we were able to meet their objectives and their goals with the depth and maintaining that natural appearance to the, or hand grooved appearance to the end product. So thanks, Andy.
Yep, thanks, David. Appreciate it. So we've talked a lot about building and construction sort of applications. We're going to move over to lumber and woodworking. Brian Staines.
Yeah. This is a repeat part number OEM in the timber and wood processing. Moving and sorting boards for cutting the correct lengths of whiskey barrels. The OEM typically had been doing this pneumatically for years and years. They wanted more control and less waste. They were having a lot of waste, and they could increase their linear footage by going electric. And two, this was a pneumatic / manual process, so there were some dangers involved. And to see the process, it was kind of shocking that they haven't had problems with workers being hurt, things of that nature. So they wanted to streamline the process to get more control, less waste. And so we had another challenge as well. So we had a off-site programmer that was in upstate New York that worked for the OEM. And to negotiate between him being in upstate New York and my OEM being in North Carolina provided some sort of a challenge. But we finally got through some of that. So next slide, Andy. So this kind of shows the sales history, and some of our projects take quite some time, especially if they're larger projects. So we started this initially in January with a distributor, made the first meeting, and then took a couple months negotiating back and forth, finally got our first quote in April. It was MXB 25P with profiled rail. It gave us the stability to put our tooling or their tooling on our actuator and to support it. It was a 30-inch stroke, 15 inches a second with an 80-pound load. Met again in July. After many meetings with the OEM, we were finally able to get the design to fit into the OEM's machine. They had to make a few adjustments on their design. And then in November, we got the first prototype order. And then, so you see in February, we got the full order. So that just goes to show us, a little over a year process, but it was well worth it. Had complete total support from distribution and Tolomatic, and lead times and prices were obviously a big factor as well. But overall, it was a good win, a little over 50K, and still ongoing as well. Next slide.
Great, thanks, Brian.
So this is another repeat part number OEM in the timber and wood, but this is moving a saw blade. These applications are all over. There's many more to be won, but this company was using hydraulics. As you know, a lumber mill is very rigorous and nasty environment. So they had hydraulic fluid leaking everywhere and contaminating the wood. EPA was really all over them. So from a government regulations and all, they were really having a hard time with the hydraulics. Very dusty environment, wet environment, as you well know. And they also, with the hydraulics, they had, temperature fluctuations. So they would have premature seal wear, reduced performance, and cold startup from the hydraulics. So we were tasked with trying to put an electric actuator on this. And so we came up with the RSA. Next slide, please. So RSA 64, we put a ball screw in it with an IP67 rating. So that would keep the contaminants out of the actuator. And there's always water splashing and things of that nature in this environment. So it needed the IP67 rating. The 64 can take, it's a very big, robust actuator, 42-inch stroke, 42 inches a second with a 1,000-pound load. It's a very big, robust actuator, was able to take the rigors of being in a sawmill environment. The good thing is with our Your Motor Here program, the customer was able to spec their own motor, and we were able to make the motor mount for them to accommodate their motor to controls. The sales value here, we eliminated the major concern was the hydraulics from contaminants, and it's also a fire hazard in the lumber mill industry. So we were able to eliminate the hydraulic actuator, and then we increased the reliability and the performance, reduced the maintenance, and we put low temp, high temp grease in these things, so they were able to operate efficiently in the paper mill environment, no matter what the temperature. So overall, very good win, and there's many more of these applications in the lumber industry to be won as well. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Brian. We'll hand it back over to Mr. Schmidt. Dave Schmidt, we got a couple here on a wood cutting application.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Apologize for background noise here. I got a student printing out a book on my printer. So anyway, this was an application, again, also piggybacking off of the application that Brian Staines just talked about. This is in the whiskey barrel or wine barrel manufacturing, utilizing our RSAs and aligning that log to go into a horizontal saw. So in that embedded video that you just saw on the right-hand side was a pair of RSA 50s that raise that log to align it into what they call the heart. So that's kind of the dark center bullseye that you see there on the log, and make sure that they get the most accurate cut across the board so that they can make the most staves out of this for the barrels. So this is, as you can see, a high particulate environment. This particular customer was familiar with our competition and not quite so familiar with Tolomatic, but with what they were using previously, we have got we increased their throughput by quite a bit, and they were having a lot of maintenance on their on our competing actuators. So next slide. So yeah, as I mentioned, we've got the RSA 50 with a roller nut into this machine, and we verified that we could provide 50% more throughput and give them an exceptionally longer life than the competition. This established a partnership with the customer via our value add engineering initiatives, working with them and telling them the advantages to the roller screw. And this particular customer has been operating without issue for nearly 2 years. And due to our partnership with them, I think Bob Chunko also talked about how critical and key these partnerships can be. We were installed on other applications, and we're being designed in on new machine builds at multiple plants. And we're seeing annualized business with this particular customer to over $100,000 annually. So next slide. This continues on with the same customer, but a different application where they've used this photo is kind of what we're being designed in on with the RSX actuator. But what I'm talking about here is providing the tapered pitch to the staves as they're being cut. And Andy, if you click on that YouTube link there, I'm going to make everyone kind of thirsty here with a short video of how the barrels are made from stage 1 to throughout. So as you can see, there's a lot of manual processes here and a lot of stuff that has been historically done hydraulically, and we can modify this with electric actuators and minimize their risk to damaged product as it goes from stage to stage of the barrel manufacturing process. So again, it's a high particulate environment, and due to our endurance technology, this enabled the RSA series to be positioned and move a lot of those grinders and saws and so forth. And I can't emphasize enough how successful we are when we establish a true partnership with either an end user or a special machine builder. So thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, David. We're going to go back to Keith Hogan.
Thanks, Andy. So this win in the you hear that?
Yeah,
My
you're right.
I don't know if it's my computer or yours. Anyway, so it's in the timber wood processing fence positioning. And if any of you familiar with the timber processing, basically it's all about optimization. And so they've got to get the most out of each log that comes in. So they'll cut the log, slice it into boards. Then all these boards are put on a chain conveyor that has lugs on it. And so the faster you can run that conveyor, they go by lugs per minute. The more product that they put through, the more money they make. So it's all about optimization. So the boards go through the scanner, and the scanner basically optimizes the board to get the most out of it. And then the next thing it does is it goes into the saws. So, or it goes past the fence rather. And so in that illustration you see there is that this actuator is basically pushing the boards and controlling where their position is as they go into the saw. So the very next stage is the saw. And so now the thing about a lot of these companies, this was a user account, they've been using hydraulics over time. And I don't know if you've talked to people in that industry, but I had one guy tell me is that they would rather spill blood than spill hydraulic oil these days with all the EPA and stuff. So that's an important thing. They wanted to get rid of, on this particular application and part of the process, they wanted to get rid of hydraulics. And so we were brought in and took a look at the situation. The application requirements were 200 millimeters. It was important that it was able to go fast to be able to increase the lugs per minute, and it had to have some accurate positioning so that they could optimize the board to its best optimization. So we had to go 0.25 meters per second or 9.84 inches per second. And then the thrust was 90 kilograms with a slight impact. Go ahead, Andy. So what we ended up doing, sizing it up for an IMA 33, they basically had limited space because they had a hydraulic cylinder in there. So the IMA was the right size to fit in there with a 5mm ball screw. With the IP67 option, they were able to take care of the contamination and in the environment. This application was brought to us by a distributor, and the distributor works very well with the mills. They did the sizing for them, so our sizing software was key in all that. The sales value, we actually were able to increase their throughput to have the positioning that they needed, and virtually trouble-free, no leaks, if you will. The actuator doesn't care whether it's cool or hot. Obviously, it has its limitations too, but compared to hydraulics, it was easily used in the application. So again, excellent win. Typically, you'll see more than one of these in a row, and good spreadable win in that industry. Next one is also a fence positioning, but this is a repeat part number OEM. The pain point was the current solution was hydraulic. They were one of the ones that came a little bit later to the table with regard to switching to electric. They saw the change was necessary because of competition doing that, and they were real keen on customization. So we ended up. The challenge was the technology change to them was obviously from hydraulic to electric was substantial. They needed somebody that was going to be able to hold their hand. They would need somebody that knew how to program and that, and so that's what the distributor brought to the table. Of course, long life is always a desire, and delivery is also key in that, so that they don't have to have products sitting on the shelf for a long time. So Andy, next page. On this application, what we ended up going for was an RSA 32 with a 2 per inch ball nut. Required a special mounting, so we were able to accommodate that. Initially, the lead came in from the timber show, passed on, and the distributor did a great job. Together with Tolomatic, went and did a easy presentation, kept it simple, showed them how the size it tool was able to size this properly for them. Delivery was met. IP67 took care of the environment. It's just a overall good win and excellent repeatable business.
Thank you very much, Keith. Appreciate it. We've got 4 more applications left. We'll as we head towards the finish line here. So Bob Chunko.
Morning, everyone. Thanks again. This is another hydraulic to electric conversion. It really highlights the Tolomatic endurance technology. This is extremely harsh environment, wood mill application, planer application, and we're doing the roll tensioning on a planer in this application. True repeat part number OEM, and there were several pain points. The key being, the hydraulic, the setup of the hydraulic system, the commissioning of the machine. Once it's on site, it's so much quicker to market for this customer with the electric systems rather than the hydraulic. So we eliminated the possibility of hydraulic leaks. Like I said, quicker assembly of the equipment. Just a great application showing the endurance technology. Competitors' actuators, had been tried. Tolomatic was proved to be the better option here, better endurance, better reliability, better delivery times, just an exceptional application proving where Tolomatic electric solutions can effectively replace hydraulics and be a real benefit to the end customer. The next slide. So customers started as a small independent and worked with Tolomatic on our RSA 64 size actuators. We incorporated roller nuts and bronze nuts into the application. The bronze nuts used for their anti-backdriving properties, and it eliminated the possibility of or the necessity of putting a brake in the system. Extremely rough environment with a lot of shock, a lot of vibration. Tolomatic product, working with the customer, we did some slight modifications. Their engineering team worked with our engineering team with the distributor partner. So it was another great collaboration to bring a customer to increase their business and to increase the reliability and functionality of the machine. So lots of engagement in the engineering area. We improved our design based on this customer's input. We've had great success in the field. Business continues to grow, and it's just another hydraulic to electric conversion. So not only in the timber industry, but think of other industries where you can replace hydraulic, because that's a true growth driver for your company. And Tolomatic does have the solutions for hydraulic conversion. So it's just a great win, and there are not that many players in this arena. So you're going after OEM business and the possibility of not having such great competition, because most companies can't do what Tolomatic does here. So great win, great engagement with our distributor partner, and just worked well all the way around. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Back to Adam Farley with a vertical lathe application.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Yeah, this is a small OEM machine builder. He does specialty wood products. This one's a router head product. It's a 3-axis system. It's CNC based. As you can tell, he's cutting stair tread, and it needs to be, seeing the picture on the top, it has an HMI. So it's different products. It's different, they cut in different angles on the steps, depending on what the steps and tread lengths are. They originally started with a competitor product, which was actually obsoleted. And that product did not have any, it had a lot of backlash. That was always an issue with the product. So, they had accuracy, repeatability issues. Customer wanted, durability was a big thing for him. And that obsoleted unit was a long lead time item, and he appreciates a standard product from Tolomatic is what we give him today. Next slide. So yeah, so we started, using the RSA. So these RSA 24s back in 2018. This machine has since been redesigned. So we had a prototype back in 2019, and then we've starting to see the production orders coming here this year, beginning of the year. A lot of the sales value went in from the distributor side, sizing, selection. From that standpoint, again, endurance technology was a big thing for the customer, and that consistent repeatability of the cuts was the big thing. And then us supplying this the low backlash ball screw was actually a big, huge advantage on this machine. Long life, and then some of the integration work was done by the guys at Solve with the distributor to put this whole package together. This thing, they'll probably be doing anywhere from 10 to 20 of these machines a year. Thanks, Andy.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, one of the more interesting applications here, or unique perhaps, Rich Braga. You talk about the Pac-Man tree here.
Yeah, so everybody wants to save their tree and because they have to get pruned like you see in the power companies don't like trees because they grow into the power. They wanted to have an ejection system that was would
Hey guys, it seems like we're having some technical difficulties with
freeze, so they
Rich
required a small.
presentation here. Rich, you're cutting in and out a little bit, so I
Okay.
wasn't sure if it was just me or not, but
Yeah,
why don't I?
it probably
try
could be me.
I'll try to do my best here for a second. You can see on the upper end right, the power companies go to great lengths to keep the power lines clear and free, and yet try to allow nature and trees to exist and coexist with each other. And so rather than do all this cutting and trimming, et cetera, what the companies have done here, this company is actually has as an anti-steroid, I guess. It can be injected into the tree itself and then stunts the growth of that tree. So it allows the tree to exist and to grow, but limits the growth here around the edges here. So they required a small electric actuator to do this. It's basically volumetric dispensing, right? So a certain amount of fluid needs to be dispensed at a certain pressure and at a certain rate. They had been doing some of that with air, but as you're running around here out in the wilderness, having a battery or a DC power source is a little bit easier than carrying a compressor around with you and trying to figure out how to get that air distributed. So we worked with the local distributor, won the contract for that job. They were able to hit their goal and the price point to take this and commercialize it. They had a relatively low cost solution available and a fairly portable solution in that. So they standardized on our ERD 15 with a ball nut, and we sold 100 of them in the first go with this particular customer. So and then we're going to finish up with one last application here. Brian Staines talking about pulp and paper application.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Repeat part number OEM in the pulp and paper industry. This was a complete custom unit. It shows our ability to do customizations is really why I wanted to show you this. If you know anything about the pulp and paper industry, they have a wet side and a dry side. Well, this is on the wet side of the process and the dewatering process. Very nasty environment on the wet side of the paper mill or pulp and paper industry. These guys were doing it pneumatically, having repeatability, accuracy issues, had a very specific fit though for their actuators. So it was a very tight fit for us. And so form, fit, and function, and like I said, pneumatic replacement, had to fit into a very tight space. We had to move 6 to 8 pusher rods at a time, all in sync together. Next slide. So as you can see to the right is a ERD 15 complete custom actuator there. This is an ongoing process. We had the initial meeting with the customer, passed designs back and forth. Like I said, they had a very stringent design that we had to meet. So we finally got with our engineering department, actually myself and Adam Tolles made a call here to the customer, and with his help through engineering, we were able to come up with a complete custom ERD 15 with a custom nose mount to adapt to their rod end. It matched the current solution that they had from a pneumatic standpoint. And in the back, we modified the rear end of our ERD to accommodate stainless steel motor housing. So you could put his motor, which was a stepper motor, inside the stainless steel housing. It's similar to our SS2 option, but it was a complete customization on the rear end and the front nose piece as well. So overall, it's a good win. We're still in the process of this as well. In the paper mill industry, there's endless opportunities. We also do some things, if you're familiar with it, moving the paper rolls up and down from a tier 1 to a tier 2 with our RSA product as well. So there's many opportunities in the pulp and paper industry. Very nasty environment. We have the endurance technology and the rigorous actuators to accommodate. So anyway, just a good application overall.